Today, we are talking with Alex Zarai. Is that right?
That's it, yeah.
All right. And he is KZoom's website developer. My name's Josh Stanton. I'm the lead designer at KZoom. I'm mainly digital designer working on websites of all kinds. And today we're going to hear from Alex, which I don't think anyone really knows anything about you. I mean, they've worked with you on a few random projects. A few of our clients have. I loved the story about you getting into development. Was it around 5 years ago-ish?
Yeah, right around
COVID?
During COVID. Yep.
Okay, so how did you happen upon development, and like when you got into it, like when did you know you loved it?
I was on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was just watching videos, and I stumbled upon a JavaScript tutorial,
Nice.
and I just kept watching it. I was like, this looks really cool. I got tons of time, and just from there, I just took a course,
Nice.
self-taught course, and just kept working,
Yeah.
building projects.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
I figured I why not give it a shot, as a full-time career.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's super fun. I love that people can do that now with like mini courses in specific things, and you don't have to go to a 4-year college to like become a developer.
No,
I think
exactly.
that's just awesome. You're a testament to that and how powerful that can be. And it was probably mostly free, wasn't it? Like,
Oh yeah,
to
no, I
become-
spent $0 on this. It's
awesome.
all free through YouTube and
Yeah.
just resources on Google.
Right.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Cool. So today we are going to be asking the question, when does your website need a developer? Kind of the lens that we're looking at this through is, let's say, you're a marketing director and you've inherited a website, or maybe you're a business owner and you've had a website for 5 years and you don't know, is my website still functioning well? It seems to be looking okay, but does it really do what I need it to do? And so we're just going to ask kind of the question, when does it need a developer? We're going to talk about, a designer versus a developer and kind of what the traditional roles are and how there's crossover. But yeah, we're going to start off with just a few bullet points here. So for sure, you need a developer when you're having performance issues, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
we're talking about a slow website. If you have a super slow site, it's not loading well. You have broken widgets, and a widget would be just something like a piece of your website that's not showing up, or it's not performing, or something has happened where it says, there's something broken. So anything to add to that? Like what other performance issues can someone look for on their website?
I think a big one is SEO, search engine optimization. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to rank really high on Google.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's the way to get your business across.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's something that a developer can definitely help you with.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not being found, if you're not, making sales or whatever your bottom line is, or you're not getting enough, contacts through your contact form, all of that can be kind of traced and tracked and figured out kind of what's going on. So, and I know too, we talk a lot about SEO on other podcasts. So definitely check out our library of SEO topics, because there's a lot of really good stuff that is both in the development world and the SEO world kind of intermixed.
Mm-hmm.
So another big reason that you might need a developer is because your site has no performance metrics. So you have no way of telling how you're doing. So some of the namely ones are Google Analytics, Search Console, totally blanking on others, but those are the main ones where you can see who is visiting your site for how long they are there.
Yeah, that's honestly a big deal. You want to know if people are spending time on your website, what pages they're looking at, what pages or sections maybe aren't performing as well.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can make informed decisions on what you need to adjust.
Right. Yep. And I'd even say too, when we're talking about your navigation on your website and the user journey, I've seen so many websites that have been, again, inherited by a marketing director, 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years. And when that happens, there's just there's consistently new pages added, and there's just like the simple navigation that should be happening is just lost. Right. And people will go down a journey and all of a sudden they're not on the right page, and you're just like that, that can't happen. They need to end up where you want them to end up, and it has to be very concise. A developer can give you a good bird's eye view of your navigation and where people are being lost, and kind of walking through that. All right. So another reason that you will definitely need a developer to take a look at your website is when you've reached the extent of what your widgets or plugins can do on your website. So a couple of examples. We have a lot lot of clients that are like, hey, can you create a calendar function, a scheduling section, a custom quiz, something for my user that's really, really custom. And oftentimes, we can find a plugin that gets you to a certain place. It'll make a quiz, but it's not going to be custom. It's not going to have conditional logic or things that we need to make it really, really custom. What would you add to that? Like what can a developer do to take you to the next level?
Well, I think a developer can definitely, so when you're using a plugin, you're really limited to what that plugin offers. And so with a developer, sky's basically the limit. You can tailor or the developer can help you solve your exact needs much better than just using a plugin can,
Yes.
Because you are limited to whatever the plugin offers. And a lot of them are paid too, and they're subscription based. And the other point too that I want to make is that, sometimes a plugin can break or it'll just become deprecated.
Yeah.
And once that happens, you're out of luck. So you're going to have to find an alternative solution anyways.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I think too, I found it helpful when people bring us other websites that they like and they go, oh, that is the solution I need. It's another it's another business from Seattle, let's say, and they're like, oh, they're doing it right. How are they doing it? And then we just look at basically the back end of the coding, right? And we're just like, hey, we know they're using this plugin or this third party thing, and we can get you set up with that if you'd like, or we can maybe even find a better solution for you.
Exactly.
So
yeah, another point I want to make too is that usually when you're using a plugin, there's going to be a lot of bloat just in general.
Yeah.
Unnecessary code, and with a developer, like I said, you can tailor that. You can tailor it to the exact approach you need.
Yes, absolutely.
And it'll basically make your website a lot more performant.
Absolutely, yeah. That bloat he's talking about really will slow down your website, or will make it just feel clunky. Like maybe it just when it loads, there's like a flash to black, and it doesn't look right. And you're just like, why? That's something we can look at and fix, which is awesome. Another reason why you might need a developer is that you need better consistency across the board with branding, with navigation, and just in general web page consistency. So that can be things like sitemap, the way that your pages are laid out, and just general user journey. So what have you experienced in brand consistency world? Like maybe what's the worst case you've seen, and don't have to name a name, but do you have one?
I'm not going to name any names,
No.
but I think what I see a lot of the times is just websites in general, there's not really an identity. It just feels like they were put together really quickly. There was no real direction. Maybe it felt like there was a bunch of different people contributing without really basically talking to each other and just getting some consistency going.
Yeah,
and I
totally.
think it's really easy to do actually. You just got to make sure that you pay attention to it, that you have a big one for me is consistent spacing.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
That's a big one that a lot of websites just don't seem to have.
I couldn't agree more. It's a subtle branding piece that you miss, that people miss a lot.
Yep.
And if it's consistent, like subconsciously, I think your brain is like, oh, this is, the website because it's this brand that you follow.
Exactly.
It's your
Yep. It also just shows that you put the time and the effort in to make sure that it just looks nice, looks put together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's super important. And, at KZoom, we do have a branding expert on the team who does a lot of graphic design and logo and branding and that sort of thing. We do work with clients a lot from the beginning of even the branding process to bring them into a website, which is awesome. A lot of the websites we've built together, it's been right after the branding process has finished. And sometimes it's nice because there's a little bit of flex in there, but there's also a very consistent color palette that we're going to use, and there's the specific font types and things that we just thrive on when we know we can build a great site when we've got those things.
Exactly.
And it helps you narrow in on those things. So
yeah,
very important. And then one last thing that you might need a developer for is if you're unsure if your website is compliant or accessible to folks, let's say, who are colorblind or have they need to listen auditorily to your website and have it being read to them. What can we do for that, and kind of what can we do?
A big one is semantic HTML. So making sure you're using the right tags. You want to make sure that your title on your web page is an H1. That way, if you're using a screen reader, for example, the person knows what they're looking at. That they know that okay, this is the title.
Right.
This is the main meat and potatoes of the website. And those are really, really easy things to to take care of, but a lot of people aren't maybe aware of them either, you know, and that's something that a developer can inform you about and then help you implement too.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right. So another thing that we need to talk about here is the fact that there are developers for specific platforms. And we see that more and more as specific web building, companies and softwares come into place for specific industries. You know, we see that a lot going on. So to name a few, we've got WordPress, Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, and so on. So, you know, what, as a developer, what do you see kind of, you know, what's different about these, and why do we need a developer for each of them specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're all technically written in different languages. So WordPress is written in PHP, Shopify is written in Liquid. And I think what's important is that, you know, you don't want to really be a jack of all trades. You want to be able to specialize in certain areas.
Right.
So if you want to build a WordPress website, for example, you want to get a WordPress developer because they're going to know the ins and the outs of how to deliver you the best product possible.
Right.
You know?
Right. Very true. Very true.
Also, time is money, and you don't want a developer spinning, trying to learn something. Unless they absolutely need to. Maybe it's a complex problem that they're solving, but you definitely want to find your niche and then find the developer that can help you
absolutely
solve that problem.
You know, for us, you know, we're a WordPress exclusive agency that works on, you know, just in PHP for the most part. But we do have had clients, you know, marketing clients who have an existing site in a different platform. And when we have those, you know, we do often have to subcontract to a third party to develop in those places because, again, like there's no one, you know, and we do also try to deal locally, but there's, you know, most likely there's not a lot of Shopify developers in Kalamazoo. Right? There might be, but, you know, so, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, sometimes working with people across the country, across the world, on, you know, places like Fiverr and Upwork. You know, we've used those to find the right developer solution, you know, for you. And we'll always recommend that too if it's the right solution for you. You know, we don't ever want to just take a stab at something just because we want to just give it a try. You know, we're going to be really upfront with you.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was kind of what's the traditional roles, designer and developer? Like, what do those mean? And, you know, what can you expect to kind of get with each of the different roles? So who better to talk about it than Alex and I, who we work as a team. I'm more of a designer that dabbles in, have dabbled in some development things. I'm not a developer, but like I've made things work before. Alex, on the other hand, learned strictly development, but also has a ton of incredible layout skill and aesthetic, you know, understanding, which is pretty rare in a developer a lot of times, honestly, and who I especially with who I've worked with in the past. You know, so I'll talk a little bit about a designer real quick. A designer usually handles things like layout, UX and UI, which is the user experience and the user interface, the aesthetics of the site. So we look at the color, the font types, you know, the spacing, like we talked about. We lay things out generally in a program called Figma, which will often give the client a great access to the design itself and be able to see the site before it's built. And that's something too that Alex does as well. So it's like we have a ton of overlap, but you know, and then again from the designer's perspective, we also can fix some very, again, minor development things, depending on the platform though.
Exactly.
So then from a developer then, you know, what do you do and how would you describe a developer?
That's another good question. I mean, the way I like to look at it is, you know, a designer is kind of the architect and the developer is the one that's going to build.
Yes.
The design, you know, they're going to build the structure. They're going to help you make decisions on how best to implement your vision. Right. The nice thing about having a developer with maybe a more design-focused lens is that they can kind of think the way a designer is thinking. Because there's often, I found, a big disconnect between designers and developers. You know, a designer is very creative, very sky's the limit, and then a developer, in a sense, is very matter-of-fact. And,
well, then you throw in the client like desire to also do something creative, and you know, like as a web manager, sometimes I've run into that where the client gives me this idea, hey, can we do this thing? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to. And I'd even love to go up to this level. Right. And then I talk to the developer and it's like, oh, we can't do that at all. You know, or this platform can't support that. We just need to find a better solution for it. So
another thing too is sometimes, you know, you have a grand idea. And I mean, most ideas are definitely, we can implement anything. A developer can do pretty much whatever.
Yeah.
But also, it may take a lot of time.
Yes.
And you may not have that time to implement your idea, right? So
Absolutely.
it's the developer's job to kind of tell you, give you, plan B, a plan C.
Right. Right.
Just offer you the best implementation of your idea.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So all that to say, I really think that the modern developer does utilize things like AI for layout, AI for color. I mean, I know you do that,
Yeah.
just to give you a better sense of, maybe what's already been done, and I think that the modern developer can do that and dabble in that. And, you don't have to, as a developer, come to the table and just see things black and white. You're always evolving to learn some of the design skill as well with the development, which is just awesome. And, and vice versa. I try to dabble into the development a little bit and at least understand it. I'm not going to, I can't stand spending the time, typing out lines of code at all. I've done that a few times and I can't, I just can't, it's not creative at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love the end outcome, but I can't stand the in between,
Sure.
and the slow process. So, yeah. So I appreciate you as a developer. You're
I
amazing.
appreciate you as a designer
Yeah.
too. And I think it's really important for both designers and developers to kind of understand a little bit of where each other's coming from. So it's important
Absolutely.
for designers to have an idea of what goes into development.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
I've been in a couple situations in the past, earlier in my career where I would say yes to everything.
Oh, sure.
And I found myself in a lot of situations where, I didn't realize that something would take just way too long to implement,
Yes.
So I think it's always important to kind of know how a designer's thinking, as a developer especially.
Yes.
That way you can also communicate to them your reservations maybe, or
Right.
just what you're thinking,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Super important. Cool. Well, if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comment box below. We will definitely answer them, both Alex and I. Yeah, we'd love to work with you in the future. If you ever have any development specific things or design things or SEO, because we talked about that earlier. We do have a resident SEO specialist on our team. We also have a branding team. So we talked about creating and designing branding elements for your company. Make sure that that you find the right person, and narrow in on who would be best to lead your website and lead the charge. So thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Yeah.
You too.
All right. Thanks, guys.